Take two. Welcome everyone to the Deus Ex Cinema Podcast.
Brought to you by the Default White House.
I'm your host, Aaron Clues. On my right is Soraya Uchuk.
Ucha.
Across from her is Marty Adams.
I'm not saying it.
We're doing our third and final film in our superhero movie rotation, our second genre rotation, and it was Soraya's pick. Soraya, what was your movie?
X-Men!
The classic.
I think it's X-Men Origins.
No, it's just called X-Men.
Oh.
X-Men Origins is the Wolverine one. That's awful.
I've never seen that one.
Yeah.
This is the one with Halle Berry as Storm.
Yes, but it's the one where she's trying to do an accent. Because the ones after this, she doesn't try an accent anymore.
Someone was like, don't.
Anyways, though, it is the Bryan Singer X-Men from 2000.
Yes.
So I guess we should go around the table like we usually do. Kind of say how many times you've seen the movie, what your initial impressions were the first time you saw it, and what your history is with the X-Men franchise. Soraya, it was your movie. Why don't you start us out?
I don't remember how many times I've seen this. All I know for sure is that it's been at least over 5 years since I've seen this movie. And, it's showing its age.
We will get into that plenty.
I watched all 3 of the original films that came out in the early 2000s. And then I haven't seen Days of Future Past yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen Apocalypse.
And Logan. You also saw Logan.
Other than that, yeah.
All right, Marty, what's your rundown?
I think I've only seen this one once. And I watched Origins, Days of Future Past, and probably some other ones, like maybe 2 or 3. I can't remember, honestly. They all kind of blend together.
Yeah.
Not really a huge fan of any of them except for Logan, because I think they're kind of campy.
Mm-hmm.
But still,
Right.
not bad.
This was my first time watching this. I had never watched any X-Men movies until Days of Future Past.
I don't think your dad would have let you watch this anyways. It's a little mature, I feel.
Well, I mean, my mom would let me watch whatever I wanted, though.
Yeah.
Anyways, I started with Days of Future Past, saw that in theaters. Thought, wow, this is pretty cool. I'd like to see more. So then I went and watched X-Men Origins Wolverine, which was awful. And I was like, well, they can't all be bad. So then I watched The Wolverine, which was even worse. And then I watched X-Men
Apocalypse.
Year 1 or whatever.
Oh, is that the one where they're all high schoolers?
Yeah,
still?
and that was
young high schoolers.
so stupid. And then I saw Apocalypse and hated it, and then I saw Logan and loved it. And now I saw this. I guess the only side tangent I have is I was a big fan of the X-Men Origins Wolverine video game. Because that one was, I don't know if either of you played it.
Nope.
But it was almost like Logan before Logan. Like, it was super gory and messed up. Like, when you'd be getting shot, like, they would just shoot off chunks of your flesh, and you'd see your skeleton and shit, and then you'd watch it all grow back.
Oh.
You'd be, like, tearing people apart, just yelling fuck over and over. It was super hardcore. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, never played that.
So I guess maybe we should start off spoiler-free, get some impressions on the movie, our general thoughts, and then we can go into a spoiler section where we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive, what we liked, what we didn't like, rate it. Mm-hmm. And then we'll also find out what our genre is and pick our favorite of the 3 from our superhero rotation.
Yes.
So that is our outline.
Cool.
We have to get this done in an hour, so we have time to play Don't Starve.
Oh, sorry, you want to go first?
Just generally what you thought of it, no spoilers.
Well, since it's been a while, I do remember really liking this movie as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it probably at least once every few weeks. I really fucking loved this movie.
Okay.
I saw it after seeing it again today. It's definitely showing its age. It's a little cheesy. I don't think I enjoyed it quite as much as I used to.
Okay. Marty? Non-spoiler thoughts?
Honestly, it's a pretty plain movie. It's pretty generic, honestly. Like, there really wasn't anything about it that was, like,
Special,
revolutionary, like, particularly interesting, I guess. especially because this was the first one, right? Like,
Yeah.
You
This
know,
was the first real superhero movie, I'd say.
like the first real superhero movie, but like the first X-Men movie in the entire franchise, right? For this like genre or this
Maybe?
generation.
Yeah, definitely for this generation.
Because I don't think it was a very strong start, honestly.
No.
No, because it just seemed like another movie that like you would go see and then kind of forget about.
Okay.
And that's, I guess, maybe just the bias comparing it to like the scale of a lot of like Marvel movies nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. If you want like just a normal superhero movie, I think it's a good start. I mean, having seen the later ones, I mean, I get where they're starting to go with this.
Yeah.
But I think it was a pretty slow burn for the first entry into the X-Men universe.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I don't know. Not very memorable.
Yeah, this is the first X-Men like franchise like movie.
I felt like there wasn't enough exposition for the X-Men for anything in this one.
Yeah.
So,
There's a lot of kind of hoping you've read the comics.
yeah, it would have been a better second movie.
Yeah.
So that's been my impression of it.
I thought it was all right for the time. Like a lot of the fighting was very campy, very corny. A lot of it was kind of hard to take seriously. But I thought it was fine. Kind of like you were saying, like it's not offensive. It's just kind of a bland 2000s movie.
It's no Matrix.
Well, nothing is. Let's be honest. The only, I guess, my other big thing, and probably my biggest criticism against it, was this movie is 1 hour and 44 minutes long.
It felt longer.
I do think it felt longer, but at the same time, like nothing happened.
I was about to say, it felt like there was a lot of time, but not a lot of actual plot.
Yeah, like very, very little happened. I guess maybe now we should just go into full spoiler talk, so we can get into this. But like, because I mean, the entire story, half the movie, is just Wolverine meeting the X-Men,
Yes.
and then from there he stabs the girl. He stabs Rogue.
He goes to get her.
He goes to get her. She's taken, and then there's the final fight, and that's the entire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's like 4 plot points
Yeah.
in the whole fucking movie, which is just insane to me. How do you have a movie that has so little happen for
feels so
104
long.
minutes?
Yep. Well, I mean, that kind of gets back to like why I felt like it was a bad first start to the series. Like, because if like stuff happened, but it like almost assumed like you already knew
What was?
what was going on. You know?
Yeah.
Especially because like they eventually do really flesh out like the backstory between like Magneto and Xavier and stuff.
Yeah.
And it does get interesting.
Yeah.
It's just this movie shows no indication of that ever happening.
Yeah.
So
Which I find it interesting how this movie very much feels as though it expects the X-Men to already be so much a part of the cultural zeitgeist that they don't need to explain it.
yeah.
It's kind of like Spider-Man Homecoming, right? Like when they were making Spider-Man Homecoming, it was very reasonable for them to say, hey, we don't need another origin story because we've had 2 fucking origin stories within the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And everybody knows who Spider-Man is. But I don't think that's the case for X-Men.
Not really,
Especially not in 2000.
Because this was pretty much, aside from like the cartoons,
Yeah.
this was pretty much the first like adaptation to bring this like the universe into this generation.
Yeah.
So I felt like backstories might have been a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
To start with,
Definitely.
at least for one of the characters, there was no backstory except for Rogue,
Yeah.
but she's not even really a strong enough character, I think,
Yeah.
to be worthwhile.
Could we argue that Magneto's backstory is
They,
something?
no, because I mean they showed a little bit, but not really. Like most of the backstory for him and why he became so like filled with like this need for vengeance came more from like Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like about him and his rivalry and like / friendship with Xavier were like that's his origin story really. That's
okay.
Magneto's origin story, not so much him, but like his character that he takes on.
Okay.
And I don't know, like Rogue's important later, but you don't know that in this either.
Yeah.
Like so.
She just seems like a piece of the plot.
Yeah.
Like a red herring more than anything else. I guess maybe we should start off with positives. Anything we liked about the movie?
I thought some of the special effects were pretty good. Like when you first see Wolverine's claws come out, and the whole spreading the skin and the skin coming back together was pretty cool. The table of
in the jet where like the buildings would rise. And, yeah,
that was pretty fucking sweet.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, I mean, none of the effects are great or anything, but for 2000,
I don't feel like the cheesiness of some of the effects really detracted from it at all.
Yeah. The only one where I would say was distracting at all was when they're fighting on top of the Statue of Liberty, and Wolverine goes full 3D model and swings around the crown of her and cuts the tip off.
Yeah, and like when they were fighting, what was his name? The frog guy or whatever? Toad? Yeah. You know, like, that was, you could obviously see he was in a harness getting pulled around. But I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, especially in 2000, you could always tell.
Yeah.
Unless it's the Matrix. And I got one of the bigger things I came away with positive wise was I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah. It had some really good parts. I know Marty and I both laughed a lot when they crash and Wolverine just flies out of the windshield.
It's like doing the whole like Family Guy landing.
Just laying on the ground. That was funny when he calls Cyclops a dick. And so it's just like, okay. I thought that was pretty good. Marty, did you have any?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, anything Hugh Jackman's in is like pretty solid.
Yeah.
As far as his stuff goes, all the other actors, they can be subpar, but he pulls it together.
All right.
Because it's every movie you see with him, you get the same. You get Hugh Jackman.
Yeah. He's nice. He's just a nice, consistent middle line. Did either of you have anything else positive you wanted to say, or?
I don't know. Honestly, I did not get a lot of strong feelings from this movie.
Yeah, neither did I. I have 4 notes.
Yeah, I think a lot of my stuff's nitpicks. I think this might end up being a bit of a short one. But that's okay, because we can talk more about the other movies and that kind of stuff, too.
Yep.
So, yeah, and I mean, and I guess I'd like to at least emphasize that I think we're going to naturally spend a lot more time talking about the negatives and the positives. And I think that largely is because when you're talking about film criticism, which I guess you could call this, it is always easier to talk negative than talk positive, especially when it's such a mid-league film like this.
Well, and like even with the best films, trying to pick out the positives, like the reason why a movie is good shouldn't be obvious, I think.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a lot easier to point out flaws because that's what you're always looking for.
Yeah.
If it's a good movie and it's well made, you won't be thinking about, oh, that's what makes that movie good. That particular scene, that particular thing. Like it should just be a overall vibe, I guess.
Just an experience more than anything else. Yeah. So I guess I just want to say I think we're going to talk a lot more about the negatives, but I mean I walked away thinking this is a fine movie. I don't hate it.
Yeah, talking about the bad doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
Yeah. So I just wanted to lead with that, so we don't go hurting anyone's feelings. So I guess actually one more positive. Magneto's always cool.
Oh yeah.
I liked him in this because Magneto's just a really good character.
Yeah. And
visually interesting and just a lot of fun to watch.
I still couldn't see him as like just being the bad guy.
Yeah.
You know, even if he was willing to do bad stuff, it's like I can kind of relate.
Yeah. Right. So I guess one of the big things I had as far as negatives was all of the bad guys were all really fucking lame to me, except for Magneto. I don't know if maybe it's because there's not really any backstory given to them, but like, I do not care about Sabretooth.
No, not at all.
Whatsoever. Just, besides laughing from how crappy his growls were, he was just such a corny character, and it was impossible for me to take him seriously.
Are these the movies that people really hated Mystique in? Or
Yes.
did they hate her with Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique?
I think they like Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique generally.
Because that's the movies with Jennifer Lawrence is when you start to get into the more human side of Mystique.
Yeah, because she almost becomes like a second Magneto, where she's torn on which side to really work for.
Okay. Because I only saw X-Men Apocalypse, and I did not like Mystique in that one.
That's because everything about Apocalypse was garbage.
True.
There's not a single good thing about that.
Maybe if I saw
movie.
Days of Future Past, I'd change my mind.
Yeah, Days of Future Past is the one where him and or her and Magneto really start to develop their characters together.
Okay, because I thought in X-Men Apocalypse, Mystique just wasn't really a thing.
Yeah.
And I like this one because Mystique played like a general, more important role.
Okay.
Like using her abilities to like influence people and like infiltrate things.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay. Supposed to be talking about negatives. No, I'm just joking. That's totally fine. Yeah, no, and I guess my big thing with the bad guys was just every single one felt very, very one note.
Mm-hmm.
Like you had Sabretooth and he would like claw people.
He's the muscle.
And growl. Yeah. And the frog guy didn't really do anything until the end.
Kind of like a comedic relief character.
Pretty much. And then you had Mystique, where it just kept doing the same reveal. Oh my god, that's Mystique!
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of did that over and over. So I found that when you have something like that, it's just so uninteresting and so hard to feel any tension.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, that's kind of why it just came down to being kind of a bland movie.
Yeah.
It's because there's never a point when I felt like worried about anything.
Yeah.
Like even the climax when Rogue was, supposedly about to die because she was using her power to spread the thing. I was like,
Yeah, I mean, you know she's not.
yeah, I know.
It's just-
Yeah, so.
Did you guys have anything that you wanted to bring up, or I could just keep going down my list, really?
Honestly, I'll just keep going. I don't really have much for this one. It was just kind of... It was kind of okay.
I'm reading over my notes here, and really only two stand out as actual things. The other ones were stupid.
Okay.
At least I think are stupid. So I like how they kind of compare/contrast Magneto and Xavier's layers. Because they're basically the same, but they're completely different.
Yeah, the visual design on those was actually really interesting.
And I feel like that works perfectly well with how their relationship is, where they're somewhat really similar, but then they're also completely different personalities and like have different views on
Well,
things.
and there was good, more subtle design in it too. I thought, like how Magneto had, I can't remember what they're called. They're like the Newtonian balls,
yeah,
where they bounce back and
the
forth.
pendulums.
Yeah, the pendulums.
Swinging pendulums.
And I thought that was a really interesting, almost representation of how his method's not really going to work, because it's just force, just back and forth, over and over for eternity. Yeah, and I agree with you. That was a very interesting contrast.
And then, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, is like, the last one you got, like, positive or negative for it?
The other one was just, how does Mystique get everywhere so fast?
She has plot boots. They gave her +5 speed.
Well, but in addition to the whole layer thing, how Magneto's prison is basically still the same.
Yeah.
Layer wise.
Yeah.
With the whole like separate thing and then the bridge connecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very similar.
Yeah, I guess one thing that I was thinking about too is there was very few characters in this as far as like the actual X-Men. They made it sound like it was this big thing, but it was really just like...
Every single time it was Cyclops and Storm, go take care of it.
Yeah, Cyclops, Storm, Jean.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That was the X-Men.
Yep.
So that felt a little weird. Just how it was kind of like in Deadpool 2, when he was sitting there making a comment, it's like, where is everybody?
Yeah.
It's like, I kind of got that vibe for real from this.
Yeah.
And then there was a big school with the kids. They made this whole plot like, oh, it's a school. They go to class. This one guy has like fire. This one guy has like ice. And like they went nowhere with that near the end. They just kind of like, okay, now they're taking off in their rocket ship, and then they forgot about the school.
Yeah.
Which again, that's a later thing that comes back. But at the time the movie was made, that
doesn't save this movie.
No.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say the second one is like complete opposite character-wise in this. Because there's just people fucking everywhere in the second one. Like a shit ton of people.
Well, I think one of my... I'm going to try and stay away from nitpicks.
Yeah.
Kind of keep it more big picture.
Okay.
But I think one of my biggest problems with this was structurally, it all felt very, very sloppy to me. Like, there was a lot of scenes where you could tell things are kind of happening just for the plot to keep going.
Yeah.
Like Wolverine waking up and stabbing Rogue in the chest, and then she like accidentally puts the hand on his face, and there was that. There was how it just kind of randomly brought up Cerebro out of nowhere, and then like Mystique was all of a sudden there, and I was like, I don't know why she's here, or how she knew about any of this shit, and then she goes in and like puts the little poison in there or whatever, and then Jean Grey has to use it, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't do anything. It felt like a lot of points that weren't really connected, but just happened to happen together.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite part of the movie is honestly the beginning when it was like just Logan and then Rogue.
Yeah,
you know, because that felt a lot more like real and grounded and interesting.
And
then until they found the X-Men, and then all of a sudden it was just like
when it was the most like Logan.
Yeah.
You mean because Logan's the best X-Men movie?
Yeah, but I mean that's because it was like. It felt more like you could care about the characters and what happened to them and stuff. Well, because it was like real and not like, now look at all these wacky superheroes with all their wacky powers. Because that's really what the vibe I get from all the X-Men stuff, like even the comics, is just let's just try and give every time we think of any kind of superpower, let's make it happen.
Yeah,
you know, like it doesn't feel like anywhere near like real enough where I would care.
Yeah. Well, and it all just feels so cheesy.
Yeah.
Like especially there's that scene where Wolverine first meets Professor Xavier, and he's going through everyone's superhero names. I was like cringing. He's like, that's blah 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 blah, aka Cyclops.
Yeah.
That's blah 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 blah. He calls himself Sabretooth. And I was like, do they all just sit down
and decide their name?
Just be like, I'm gonna be called Cyclops. It's just so
You know,
I cringed real hard.
Which is why I like the beginning, you know, and then like the Logan movies.
Yeah.
Because like it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem campy at all. Like,
yeah. Well, I think that's a big thing that not only X-Men, but really superhero movies as a whole, but especially X-Men, really struggle with a lot is grounding their narratives and making them personal enough for you to give a shit.
Yeah.
Because like I can't empathize with what it feels like to fight a frogman.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. I don't have any frame of reference for what it's like being on top of the Statue of Liberty and almost fucking falling off. Like, you need personal stakes and personal development for me to be able to give a shit.
Which is why, you know, again, tying it back to Logan, I mean, the only reason I tie it is because Wolverine's, like, the main guy in this, too, is that you care about him in that and what happens because it's not about him fighting the bad guys. It's about him, like, facing his own mortality and stuff like that, which is a much more realistic, grounded concept than, like, you know, oh, this person's going to turn everybody into a mutant and make them turn into Jello.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, and that's really where all the best superhero movies end up. And especially X-Men. Like, I think the next one after Logan is Days of Future Past. And that one's not quite as grounded, but it is much more personal in Magneto's philosophy and sort of struggling with the political side of it.
Well, yeah, because its internal conflict is so much more relatable than external conflict.
Yeah. You know, but then you get Apocalypse, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking kill everything!
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a new world! It's just, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Especially when you know it's not gonna happen.
Well, because they can't.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, this isn't Thanos here. We're talking.
X-Men First Class really came out 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I didn't even know Wolverine came out in 2013.
Yeah, nobody did.
And then after that is Days of Future Past.
Yep. And then Apocalypse.
Technically Deadpool, and then Apocalypse.
Yeah, well, that's not stuff.
And then the next ones are Dark Phoenix and the New Mutants this year.
Yep. I think New Mutants is a TV show?
No, it's a movie.
It's a movie?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Because they're also doing that, like, horror TV show, aren't they?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it.
I remember they put out a trailer for it.
The New Mutants is the one where, like, they're being held in, like, an insane asylum, and it's kind of horror.
I thought that was a TV show. That's a movie? That's what I was thinking of. That might be a movie. I could be completely wrong. I guess
it's a movie.
It is a movie? Okay, cool. I wonder if that'll still get made after Fox's announcement. Did you guys hear about that? I guess we could talk about that. It's X-Men related.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Fox announced that they are canceling all X-Men plans. X-Men and Deadpool plans.
Why?
Because they're being bought by Disney.
Fucking Disney.
So they were like, alright, fuck it. We're done.
Fucking Disney, man.
Yeah, I mean, fuck Disney. But
technically, aren't they becoming a monopoly now?
yes.
So, shouldn't there be some laws?
We won't get into politics on this podcast, Soraya.
I'm just saying, because you said...
Mickey Mouse like, I want to know.
He's gonna kick in the fucking door. It's gonna be like the Jonas Brothers episode of South Park. I guess one thing, another thing that I'd like to talk about a little bit, and then we can kind of just switch into our other topics. Unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about. And I don't want to talk about it too long, because this might be like the third or second. I think this is the third episode in a row now. But the past couple episodes, Ray, you brought up post 9/11 cinema.
This came out in 2000.
It did.
So,
and I think it is the perfect example to compare something like this to something like Infinity War or even Logan, right? Like, this movie is so uncynical. It is so innocent and cheesy, and just everything works out completely perfect.
Beat the bad guys.
Totally black and white. Even when you have a character like Magneto, they don't stress how you can kind of see where he's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I kind of want to watch the second one just to see how different it is, because the second one came out in 2003.
I don't know how much different that one would be, but I think...
You don't think it'd be that different?
Well, because in 2003, after this one coming out in 2000, they were probably already working on a script. And then I don't know if that mindset had already completely set in, but I think you could look at X-Men 3.
X-Men 3
where
is...
everyone fucking dies.
I only remember one person mainly dying.
I'm pretty sure almost everybody dies in X-Men 3.
That's the one where they're like eventually at that construction site and basically like they're getting their ass handed to them.
I think so.
That's the compound.
That's when Jean like just fucking implodes into infinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jean Grey, Professor Xavier, and Cyclops all die, and then some turned into humans like Mystique and Magneto. So I think that would even be a very strong comparison you could make of the sort of the way 9/11 affected not only cinema but just sort of culture and media output as a whole in America.
I saw when this movie came out, and I was like, holy shit, they were in New York? The two towers were still fucking up?
Yep.
Ugh.
I mean, there was even that big thing with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, where they had to take the Twin Towers out of the posters and stuff. They had to remove a whole shot with the Twin Towers in them, because people were too sensitive about it.
Well, Lilo and Stitch, too. Another random 9/11
Yeah, that was crazy.
They were going to fly up. They were originally, instead of taking the ship and flying it around the islands, they were like flying like a 747 through like the city.
Yeah. What the fuck?
And stuff. Yeah.
I think they crashed into a building.
They crashed into a building, but 9/11 happened, so they had to redo the entire scene.
Yeah. They completely
when did fucking Lilo and Stitch come out?
2001, I think.
Yeah.
2002.
It happened to GTA 4 too. They had the Twin Towers on the cover and in the game. And they took them out because they were worried about people flying planes into them.
Lilo and Stitch came out in 2002.
There it is.
Fuck.
That shit's crazy. All right, any other closing thoughts on X-Men?
No,
it's a bit of a short one.
But I feel like we talked about all there is to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything.
So I guess then, to close thoughts on this one, we usually look at how much it made and what its budget was, and its Rotten Tomatoes score, see how much we agree, then we can give our own scores.
Yep.
Just get on Box Office Mojo real quick.
You could just find it on Wikipedia, you know. Don't you know?
I like to support the little man. Like BoxOfficeMojo.com. Alright, X-Men. Alright, so, looks like it had a budget. Where's the budget? Alright, well, so it had a complete worldwide gross of $296,000.
Wow.
Which is really low, but again, remembering in 2000, like, grosses were a lot lower for movies, especially superhero movies. It's just crazy to think, though, that that's... Well, and because it had a $75 million budget. So that's a success, easily. I mean, that's, 3 times, 4 times its money. But it's crazy to think how that is a good gross back in 2000. And now Aquaman just passed $1 billion.
Yeah.
And it's like the third superhero movie to do that in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy thinking about it.
Do you think Avengers and it's Avengers.
Yep.
Avengers Endgame?
Yeah, do you think that's gonna surpass?
Yeah.
Yeah. Easily. Infinity War did. Everything fucking does now.
Yeah.
And I think really what it is opening up the China market. Because there's so many fucking people in China, dude.
They love that shit.
It's insane how many people are in China. And how many of them like garbage fucking movies. And so then for scores, IMDb has it at a 7.4 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has an 81%. Metacritic has a 64.
It's so high.
Which I think it is. I guess maybe we could talk about Rotten Tomatoes a little bit. I was going to bring this up for a round table, but I think it's always important to remember what Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic scores actually are, because they're not the average rating. And I think a lot of times they get sort of misunderstood like that, where you see an 81%, you think, oh, it's an 8 out of 10. That's a really good movie. But that's not what it is. You know, it's 81% of critics gave it a 5 or above. So it's like, okay, most people like it. More than this is actually a very good movie.
I still feel like that's pretty high.
But you have to look at, like, it was like one of the first
period?
superhero movies that started the whole, like, 2000s plus tradition.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what kicked it off. This and Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
This was like, okay, this could be something. And Spider-Man came out and everyone was fucking jizzing into their mom's socks.
We should have chosen Spider-Man for one of these.
Well, we're going to do the special. We're going to do all three when Far From Home comes out.
Oh, I guess.
So.
Teaser. So what would you guys rate it? Soraya, what would you rate X-Men?
I give it a 6.
Solid 6. A little bit better than an okay movie. So do you think it's good?
Yes.
All right.
It's not. I think if this was younger me, I'd probably give it like an 8.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like a 5 to 6. Yeah.
I mean, if I was younger, I'd give Osmosis Jones a 10 out of 10. So.
I have never seen Osmosis.
With the live action?
No.
There's a live action?
Well, not the live action, but the one with, like, real people.
That's the one with Bill Murray, right?
Yeah.
That's the only
that
one.
one.
Okay.
I've seen parts
I like
of
the
that
cartoon.
one. I've seen parts of the live action one.
Oh, God. You know who directed the live action parts of Osmosis Jones? It was, what are their names? The guys who made Me, Myself, and Irene. The Farrelly brothers.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they were the ones who directed the live action parts.
Perfect.
Which is why they're so goddamn gross. So it's like bile. And also, the one of them also directed Green Book. I forgot about that.
Nice.
But yeah, the guys who did Dumb and Dumber, Me, Myself,
damn
and
it.
Irene, all that shit. They
Something
directed
makes sense.
the live action Osmosis Jones. All right, Marty, what would you rate X-Men?
Probably like a 5.5. Out of
Oh, we're doing
6.
points now.
Yeah. Because I don't really want to go full 6, but I don't really want to say full 5. Because, I mean, like, I don't really have anything bad to say about it.
Yeah.
But I don't have anything really, like, good to say about it.
Yeah.
And so I would say, like, yeah, you should probably watch it just so you can watch the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't watch it if you just want to watch this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think I'd go a solid 5. It was just a perfectly middle ground movie to me.
Yeah.
You know, there's no parts where I was like, all right, let's go, or that I disliked, but there's no part either where I was like, all right, I'm enjoying this. Like, I'm enjoying myself right now.
Mm-hmm. What movie was it that we were talking about that I would say is like Predator. I would say this is kind of like on the Predator level.
I liked Predator.
She doesn't mean Predator. She means The Predator.
Oh.
The
Very
new
different
one
movie.
that came
Very
out
different
this
movie.
year. Last year.
Original Predator is good.
Gotcha.
The Predator is a hot piece of garbage.
I was going to say, like, what's wrong with Predator?
Now, I was going to say, like, the whole blockbuster thing where it's like, if you just want to go and not really think about it, this is a good movie to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
Like, The Predator.
I think almost every superhero movie is, really.
Okay.
You know, they're all just enjoyable blockbusters that you don't really have to think about.
Okay.
All right.
So then we can pick which one of our 3 superhero
Randomize.
movies. No, not yet.
Oh.
Which one of our 3 superhero movies is our favorite for this rotation? Our last rotation was science fiction, just science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Even though in the future that's going to be science fiction fantasy. And District 9 won, I believe, last time.
Yeah.
So this time I picked Batman v Superman because I wanted to watch the world burn. Marty chose...
Team America World Police because I apparently also wanted to watch the world burn.
And then Soraya chose X-Men.
Awesome. We picked great movies this time. Real quality.
So, you guys can rate yours however you want. Best movies to worst movies. Best superhero movies to worst superhero movies. Most cultural impact. However you kind of want to frame it to say what was the best of these three movies. And I think I'll go first so you guys can think. I'm gonna start at number 3. I would put Team America: World Police
For what's
number 3.
For superhero movie or just
I'm gonna go into. I'm gonna go into.
Okay.
Team America by far was the most enjoyable movie out of those 3 movies, but it was not a fucking superhero movie. We slightly argued that it was in the podcast, but I think as a superhero movie, it just didn't work for me.
I should have picked Logan.
You should have picked Logan. You should have picked
Literally
anything
anything
else.
else.
Thor Ragnarok.
For some reason, it was on the tip of my tongue, and I just came out, and it was on recording. So,
And we don't edit apparently.
nope.
And then my number 2, I'm a little torn on,
Really? Really?
but I gotta go X-Men for number 2.
Are you fucking serious right now?
And the reason why is that I liked what Batman v Superman was going for. I really liked how
Really?
Snyder was trying, and I fucking hate Zack Snyder. Don't get confused. I hate Batman v Superman. I hate pretty much all of Zack Snyder's filmography. But I respected what he was going for. And when I compare it to X-Men, I enjoyed some parts of Batman v Superman. Like, I liked the warehouse fight with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the philosophical stuff was interesting, and it was, like, at least worth thinking about and kind of seeing where he was trying to go with things. And it had a certain personal flair to it that didn't work very well, but at least it was there.
Yeah.
And when it comes to X-Men, it's hard to even have an opinion about it. It's just such a flat meh experience for me.
Right. I mean, like...
So I'm going to give it to Batman v Superman, even though that kills every part of my being.
That's what I was thinking, too. I mean, I'm pretty much along the same lines as you, because I felt like Batman v Superman was at least supposed to leave you feeling something.
Yeah.
You're supposed to walk out of the theater or whatever with something.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about Team America: World Police. We all know why that's where it is. But I feel like at least it tried to matter.
Yeah.
While X-Men was just, here, watch this, blah.
Yeah. And I guess maybe it's not completely fair because they both came out in such different ecosystems.
Yeah.
Where X-Men didn't really have anything else to go off of. And Batman v Superman, we already have such a familiar language of superhero movies.
Yeah.
That it was easier for it to do something different. You know what? I'm changing it. I just talked myself out of it. I'm going to put X-Men at number 1. Because I guess when looking at X-Men in the frame of that it being the first one, and the only one beforehand really being really awful superhero movies, I guess it is kind of a testament that this one did work even at such a basic level.
Yeah, true.
Alright, I'm going to change mine. Batman v Superman 2, X-Men 1. And then are you keeping Batman v Superman 1?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll keep it with that under the same, premises that you brought up, where it could go either way depending on how you want to really frame it.
Yeah. All right, Soraya, you're the tiebreaker unless you do Team America. Then we have to ask Rinko.
Fuck. Well, I want to put Batman v Superman as last.
Well, I guess we know who won.
I'm trying to remember how I reacted while watching that movie.
A lot of anger, if I remember correctly.
And I don't think there was any. I don't think there was really any part that made me go like, oh.
Yeah.
Or like wowed me.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like you said you enjoyed some of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Batman v Superman's last for me.
Okay. One more thing, if you don't mind me cutting you off a little bit. I guess another point to bring up with Batman v Superman and why it probably deserves to be that low, especially from what I saw of your experience, is that movie's kind of painful to watch. Which I guess should kind of count for something. Of that, like, when you're watching it, it's more fun to think and talk about Batman v Superman than it is to actually sit through Batman v Superman. Like, picking it apart is infinitely more enjoyable than actually watching that horrid piece of shit. So, sorry, keep going. What's your number 2? Oh, she fucking picks Team America.
Well, see, I was originally going to have Batman v Superman, Team America, and then X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like things from X-Men and Team America that I both really like.
Mm-hmm.
And they both kind of made me laugh.
Mm-hmm.
So, can they just be tied as number one for me?
For you, yeah. That doesn't really solve our...
But that still says X-Men was still there at number one with
number
one
I guess.
for you, so...
I guess X-Men wins this round. Sreya picked the best superhero movie ever made. Ever. With complete final decision. Well done, Sreya. You did it.
Alright.
Well, now we can pick our next genre. So I have a randomizer open.
Come on, Romcom.
I'm just going to read off them real quick so everyone knows what's at stake.
Yep.
We have science fiction / fantasy. Grouped them up into one. We have horror, action, romance, thriller, comedy, drama, animated, musical, foreign.
Porn.
And I mean, obviously, there's a lot of cross, like Aliens, a sci-fi horror. There's a lot of them are kind of flimsy, to say the best. Like a thriller applies to a lot of movies, but obviously we picked Team America as a superhero movie, so we don't really give a shit. All right, we're gonna randomize. Right, you can't look. That way, if I don't like the answer, I can lie. And we're doing drama.
What? Seriously?
There it is.
I don't know any dramas.
The most generic milquetoast film genre descriptor possible.
Oh, man. All right. Well,
That'll be fun, though. There's a lot of good dramas out there.
Yep.
We'll be able to get in some good stuff. So that's going to do it for this episode of the Deus Ex Cinema Podcast. This was your host, Aaron Clues, Sreya Uchuk, and Marty Adams. If you'd like to follow us, we are on Instagram as the Default White Guys, I believe. Is that correct, Sreya?
Instagram, yes.
Yes. So Sreya runs that. She's been doing a great job. You can also find us as Deus Ex Cinema on SoundCloud and iTunes if you'd like to follow us there. Or we also are on YouTube as the Default White Guys. We do a podcast every Monday, gameplays and random erotic fan fiction and other stuff Tuesdays and Fridays. So if you want more of us, there's plenty of ways to get it.
Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe to us.
Smash that like button in the face.
All right, that's it for this episode. See you next week.